Let's face it, at some point, your knees start filing formal complaints about swinging over a tall seat, and your back threatens to strike over aggressive riding positions. The good news? You've reached the age where you can choose a motorcycle for comfort, not to impress 20-somethings who think loud pipes and neon underglow are peak sophistication. These 14 bikes prove growing older doesn't mean giving up the joy of riding, it means riding smarter. If you're enjoying our channel, a tap on that subscribe button will help us bring you more great content. Whether you're a seasoned rider or getting back on the road, this list features machines that are easy to handle, gentle on joints, and won't require selling a kidney. Your chiropractor will thank you, and so will your wallet too. Number 14. Honda Rebel 500. $6,499 buys you the motorcycle equivalent of comfortable shoes. Not flashy, but your feet will thank you at the end of the day. At 27.2 inches, this seat is so low you could sit down while texting without looking, though please don't. The 471 cubic centimeter parallel twin produces 47 horsepower through smooth, predictable delivery. No sudden power surges that catch you off guard. Just linear acceleration that builds confidence rather than testing your reflexes. The cruiser ergonomics position you upright with forward controls, reducing strain on wrists and back during longer rides. Honda designed the Rebel around practical concerns that matter to experienced riders. Minimal vibration keeps your hands comfortable, while the low center of gravity provides stability at parking lot speeds. ABS is available on the optional ABS model for wet weather confidence, and the fuel injection eliminates cold start drama on chilly mornings. Build quality reflects Honda's reputation for reliability. The steel frame and conservative engineering mean fewer surprise repair bills, while the simple parallel twin design keeps maintenance straightforward. The best part? It actually looks like a real motorcycle, not like you've given up on life and bought a scooter. The cruiser styling lets you pull up anywhere without younger riders offering to help you find the nearest Denny's. At number 13, the Suzuki Boulevard S40. Here's what Suzuki figured out that other manufacturers missed. Sometimes the best motorcycle is the one that doesn't try to impress anyone. About $6,000 gets you 381 pounds of unpretentious cruiser transportation, light enough to maneuver without a gym membership. The 652 cubic centimeter single-cylinder engine produces around 31 to 48 horsepower. Modest power wrapped in a package you can easily move around the garage. Belt final drive means you can forget about chain maintenance entirely. No more Saturday mornings spent with greasy fingers and adjustment tools. No complex electronics to fail. No cooling system to leak, and a single simple carburetor that's easy to maintain. Just one cylinder doing its job reliably. The 27.6-inch seat height means confidence at every stop, while the air-cooled simplicity keeps mechanic bills reasonable. Your neighbor with the flashy sport bike might get more attention at gas stations, but you'll be the one riding while he's waiting for parts to arrive from Japan. The S40 delivers exactly what it promises, reliable transportation that won't break your back or your budget. Number 12. Royal Enfield Meteor 350. About $4,700 for a brand new motorcycle sounds too good to be true until you realize it comes from a company that's been building the same basic bike since your grandfather was young. The Meteor represents Royal Enfield's attempt to enter the modern world without abandoning their vintage charm. 20 horsepower from a 349 cubic centimeter single is modest but perfectly matched to the 421-pound curb weight for relaxed cruising. The 30.1-inch seat height requires a slight stretch for shorter riders, but the narrow profile and optional low seat around 29 inches make it manageable. Soft suspension soaks up road imperfections that would rattle your teeth on sportier machines. Royal Enfield designed the Meteor for riders who appreciate character over clinical perfection. The single-cylinder engine provides enough vibration to remind you it's running without numbing your hands. Build quality has improved dramatically from the company's dodgy reputation of decades past, though you're still buying into a philosophy that values charm over cutting-edge technology. The retro styling attracts attention everywhere you go, mostly from people wondering if you restored a vintage bike or bought something new that looks old. Either way, you'll spend more time talking about motorcycles in parking lots than you bargained for. Consider it part of the ownership experience. BMW G310R takes our number 11 spot. German engineering without German pricing sounds like a contradiction, but $5,090 actually buys you legitimate BMW quality. 362 pounds makes this feel more like a bicycle with an engine than a proper motorcycle, which becomes incredibly liberating once you experience it. 34 horsepower from the 313 cubic centimeter single doesn't sound impressive until you factor in the weight advantage. BMW tuned everything for real-world usability rather than bragging rights. The 30.9-inch seat sits higher than ideal, but the narrow chassis helps most riders touch down confidently. Premium components like inverted forks and radial brakes deliver handling that embarrasses bikes costing twice as much. You get actual BMW build quality without the mortgage payment, plus ABS standard equipment that works seamlessly. Parking becomes almost comically easy when you can literally push the bike around by hand. The only downside? Explaining to Harley riders that your little BMW probably cost more to engineer than their entire powertrain. But hey, at least you can pick it up if it falls over. Suzuki SV650 lands at number 10. 20-plus years of production means Suzuki got something right with the SV formula. $7,949 buys you into their longest-running success story, a bike that does everything reasonably well without dramatic excellence in any single area. 75 horsepower from the 645 cubic centimeter V-twin pushes our recommended power limit, but the delivery stays smooth and predictable. Strong low-end torque eliminates constant shifting in city traffic, while 437 pounds provides stability without becoming unwieldy. The 30.9-inch seat requires some leg length, but most riders adapt quickly. Motorcycle schools love SVs for good reason. They're nearly bulletproof and forgiving of rider mistakes. The naked standard layout works equally well for commuting or weekend touring, with upright ergonomics that won't leave you reaching for pain relievers. Standard ABS adds wet weather confidence without complexity. Don't mistake reliability and sensibility for boring. Plenty of experienced riders have returned to SVs after sampling flashier alternatives, discovering that practical choices often turn out to be the most satisfying ones long-term. Number 9 sits with Honda CB300R. 316 pounds. That's lighter than most people, and when you're pushing a motorcycle around a parking lot, that difference becomes your new best friend. $5,149 gets you a bike that feels like Honda forgot to install the engine until you twist the throttle. The 286 cubic centimeter single makes 31 horsepower, which your sport bike friends will mock until they try to keep up with you through city traffic. Neo-cafe styling means you look like you know something about motorcycles without having to explain why your back doesn't hurt after a 2-hour ride. Honda's fuel injection eliminates the cold start lottery that plagues older bikes, while standard ABS means you won't accidentally lock up the front wheel when that delivery truck pulls out unexpectedly. The 31.6-inch seat pushes height limits, but when the bike weighs less than a bag of groceries, most people manage just fine. Your mechanic will love you because there's almost nothing to break. One cylinder, basic electronics, and Honda's reputation for building things that simply refuse to quit running. Yamaha MT-03 claims number 8. $4,999 makes this the cheapest ticket to modern motorcycling that doesn't involve buying someone else's problems. 373 pounds of Japanese engineering that punches way above its weight class, literally and figuratively. 42 horsepower from the 321 cubic centimeter parallel twin sounds modest until you're zipping past cars stuck in traffic while getting scooter-like fuel economy. The MT handles like a much larger bike that went on a serious diet, with enough power to merge confidently, but not enough to get you into serious trouble. Yamaha stripped away everything unnecessary and kept everything important. No fancy electronics to confuse your mechanic, no complex fairings to crack in parking lot incidents, just a reliable parallel twin and a chassis that makes every parking lot feel like a playground. The best part? Nobody expects much from the cheapest bike on the lot, which means you get to surprise people regularly without spending sport bike money or dealing with sport bike maintenance schedules. Royal Enfield Himalayan 450 takes 7th place. Adventure bikes usually require adventure-sized bank accounts, but Royal Enfield built the Himalayan for people who want to look capable without needing an engineering degree to ride it. $5,799 gets you genuine adventure styling with the mechanical complexity of a lawnmower. The 452 cubic centimeter single produces 40 horsepower through the kind of gentle delivery that builds confidence instead of testing your reflexes. 432 pounds keeps things manageable, while adjustable seat height drops from intimidating to reasonable with a simple tool change. Royal Enfield added traction control because even adventure bikes need to work in the real world, but they kept the mechanical simplicity that made them famous. One cylinder, air cooling, and enough ground clearance to handle road imperfections that would scrape other bikes. You can actually pick this thing up if it tips over, which adventure riders appreciate more than they admit. Plus, explaining to Harley guys that your little Royal Enfield will go places their bikes fear to tread never gets old. Kawasaki Vulcan S grabs number 6. Kawasaki figured out that most cruisers handle like shopping carts, so they built one that doesn't. $7,599 gets you their ErgoFit system, which sounds fancy but really just means you can adjust things until your particular collection of joint problems stops complaining. The 649 cubic centimeter parallel twin comes straight from their Ninja 650, meaning you get sport bike reliability without the chiropractor bills. 61 horsepower moves the 498-pound package with authority, while the 27.8-inch seat keeps your feet happy at red lights. Standard ABS prevents those panic stops that end badly. Your Harley buddies will make jokes until they realize you're still comfortable after a 3-hour ride while they're hunting for heating pads. The Vulcan splits the difference between looking like a real cruiser and actually working like one. Plus, explaining that your Japanese Harley will probably start every morning for the next decade never gets old. Honda Shadow Phantom lands at number 5. 25.6 inches. That's the seat height, which means even people who need step stools can flat-foot this thing. Honda crammed a 745 cubic centimeter V-twin into a package that weighs 553 pounds, but feels lighter thanks to physics and smart engineering. Shaft drive means you can forget about chain maintenance forever. No more greasy Saturday mornings or roadside adjustments. 45 horsepower arrives smoothly without the lumpy idle that makes other cruisers sound like they're about to die at traffic lights. The blacked-out styling looks serious without requiring a leather jacket and anger management issues. Honda reliability meets cruiser aesthetics, which confuses people who think you need to choose between looking cool and actually getting places. The Shadow starts every time, runs forever, and costs almost nothing to maintain. Your neighbors with the temperamental Harleys will pretend not to be jealous. Yamaha Bolt rolls into number 4. Yamaha looked at the bobber trend and asked themselves what would happen if they built one that actually worked properly. $8,899 gets you 942 cubic centimeters of V-twin that makes 65 horsepower without the drama. 542 pounds sounds heavy until you sit on the thing and realize how low everything sits. The 27.2-inch seat and forward controls put you in command of a machine that feels much lighter than the scales suggest. Wide bars give you leverage when wrestling it around parking lots, while the low center of gravity keeps things stable. Modern fuel injection eliminates the cold start ritual that older bikes require, while the suspension actually absorbs bumps instead of transmitting them directly to your spine. The Bolt delivers classic bobber looks with reliability that won't leave you stranded at bike rallies, explaining why authenticity sometimes isn't worth the hassle. Honda NC 750X takes number 3. Automatic transmissions used to be motorcycle blasphemy, but Honda figured out that some of us are tired of playing clutch games in traffic jams. $9,499 gets you the DCT system that shifts smoother than most people can manage manually. Plus, your left hand gets to rest instead of cramping up at every red light. The 745 cubic centimeter parallel twin makes 58 horsepower without any fuss or drama. Where most bikes have a fuel tank, Honda stuck a storage compartment big enough for actual stuff, groceries, rain gear, or whatever else you need to haul around. 497 pounds distributed low keeps things manageable even when you're not feeling particularly athletic. Your buddies will make jokes about riding an automatic until they spend a day in city traffic clutching and shifting every 30 seconds. Then they'll start asking where they can test ride one. The NC works so well that you forget about the transmission completely, which turns out to be the whole point of good engineering. Kawasaki Versys 650 takes second place. Adventure bikes usually require actual athleticism. But Kawasaki built the Versys for people who want to look capable without having to prove anything. $9,699 gets you into the category without requiring CrossFit membership or physical therapy appointments. 68 horsepower from the 649 cubic centimeter parallel twin handles highways confidently while staying civilized around town. The 33.3-inch seat sounds tall until you realize the narrow chassis and excellent balance make most height worries evaporate. 483 pounds feels lighter than it sounds when everything's positioned correctly. The adjustable windshield actually works instead of just looking important, while long travel suspension absorbs road imperfections that would punish riders on sportier machines. Standard ABS prevents those panic stops that end with expensive bodywork repairs. You can handle gravel roads without embarrassment, but never feel obligated to conquer continents. Triumph Speed 400 claims our top spot. British engineering meets modern reliability, which used to be a contradiction but apparently isn't anymore. $5,295 gets you into Triumph ownership without requiring a second mortgage or a British mechanic on speed dial. The 398 cubic centimeter single makes 39.5 horsepower through refined delivery that masks its modest displacement. 375 pounds makes parking lot maneuvers effortless, while the 31.1-inch seat height works for most riders without drama. Traction control prevents those embarrassing rear wheel slides on wet pavement. Triumph added modern electronics to classic styling, resulting in a bike that looks properly British but starts reliably every morning. The single-cylinder engine provides character that multi-cylinder machines sometimes lack, complete with enough vibration to feel authentic without rattling your teeth loose. Build quality justifies the premium over Japanese alternatives. The Speed 400 proves that sometimes the best choice combines old-world charm with new-world reliability. Your garage will look more interesting, and you'll have better stories to tell at bike nights than people riding anonymous Japanese machines. 14 motorcycles that understand the difference between youthful enthusiasm and mature wisdom. Each one prioritizes comfort, reliability, and common sense over bragging rights and emergency room visits. The best part about riding at this stage of life? You can finally choose a motorcycle based on what actually matters instead of what looks impressive in parking lots. Your knees, back, and bank account will all thank you for making the smart choice. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss our upcoming videos. Because at our age, we've earned the right to ride smarter, not harder.